Ghost. Well, good afternoon, good evening, bienvenidos, friends. I am thrilled to welcome you all to our third and perhaps final reading for October. You have joined Cultivating Voices live poetry. If it's the third Sunday, it's our wild card open mic. And we've got folks assembled from all across the time zones to share their poetic wares with you this evening, this afternoon, this early morning for some. I'm your host, Sandy Yannone. It's always a privilege and an honor to be hosting and listening to your fabulous poetry that you are so generous to bring to our virtual stage. As I mentioned, this is our wild card open mic. So today we've got a full roster of 12 poets on the featured open mic. 5 minutes, they'll be reading for up to 5 minutes apiece. If there's a little bit of time after those 12, we go to a wait list and try to sneak in a few more poems. If you're one of our poets that gets in off the wait list, it's one poem, around 3 minutes if possible. And we look forward to getting in as many voices as we can. In the spirit of cultivating voices live open mic, I want to share these fabulous buttons that I received from Mary Louise Kiernan. I love these so much. Share your voice, and your voice matters. Or my voice matters, but I'm saying your voice matters. And that's what it's all about here at Cultivating Voices live poetry. Thank you so much, Mary Louise. And of course, I'm looking forward to hearing your voice today on the live open mic. Well, let's get started, everybody. We've got, as I said, we've got a wonderful roster of poets. And our first poet for today is our dear friend, the raconteur, the Carolyne Wright, who will be followed by James Chaney. Hi, I'm going to pull a card for you. Today, you are the Jack of Diamonds.
Oh, was that for me? I'm Jack of Diamonds?
You're Jack of Diamonds.
Oh, okay. That's, or Jill of Diamonds, or
Jack or Jill of
or
Diamonds.
Rhinestones, or whatever. That's great. That's wonderful. Thank you. And I have some buttons for you also. I will send them to you. I think I still have your address. So yeah. Okay, well, hello everybody. It's nice to be here on a sunny Sunday afternoon. It's still warm here in Seattle, and I guess you have pretty much the same weather there, Sandy, in Olympia. So since Kim just mentioned the double triolet, I think I'll read that, just because that, that's a great editing principle. I'll read it, and then I'll read one other poem that is a translation, and a little bit more about that when I get to it. Okay, this is called Triolets on a Dune Shack. And the dune shacks are those little wooden houses built, sort of hand-built out in the, I think in Provincetown in the Cape Cod area. In this book, it's called Cape Indigo, and they were built for painters. Painters would go out there and paint. So the poem begins with an epigraph from a gentleman named Lester Walker, The Tiny Book of Tiny Houses. And it's snuggled in between two small glassy dunes facing the ocean. And as you'll see, the triolets, each triolet is 8 lines, and some of the lines get repeated. So, 1. We make love only once in the dune shack. Our reflections stroke each other in the mirrors. The pot-bellied stove by the bunk bed glowing black. We make love only once in the dune shack. Atlantic winds rattle the French doors. Sand drifts against us on the bolsters. We make love only once in the dune shack. Our reflections stroke each other in the mirrors. 2. So did we or didn't we, right? Let's say we never made love in the dune shack. We kissed and walked away, dunes glassy around us. We gazed out to sea, we never looked back. We tell ourselves we never made love in the dune shack. We stopped short where the weathered driftwood found us and turned away in the lee of the dune grass. We never made love, we say, in the dune shack. We kissed and walked away, the dunes glassy around us. So that's from Masquerade, the book that came out about a year ago from Lost Horse Press, beautiful cover. And I'm going to read a short poem that is a translation from Bengali from the book Majestic Nights, Love Poems of Bengali Women from White Pine Press. And one of the reasons I'm reading this is that I got a call like at 6:30 a.m. last week, early in the week, from Dhaka, Bangladesh, and it was kind of like you hear about those Nobel Award calls in the middle of the night. But this was from the man who is the director of the Bangla Academy in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and I have been awarded this major award from the Bangla Academy for my contributions to Bengali literature. So I'll type the name of the award in the chat after I read. So I'm just going to read one poem by, it's translated from Bengali by one of the Bangladeshi poets I have translated. Her name is Shamim Azad, and we are still working together. And it's called Conjugal Prayer. And I could imagine that this could also have taken place in the dune shack or not. So, conjugal prayer. How can I live with a saint in perpetual meditation who renounces everything at night and goes off to some dream city, who in aspect and attire is handsome beyond compare, for whom a mere woman will not do forever? A touch to the forehead burns the whole body. The circle shrinks to the vanishing point. If at the golden moment flowers fall in showers, the sage goes on chanting his vows. The eyes don't cease blinking at the woman draped in gold. Coals don't glow in the chest. How could I ever live with a god? I want a man, not some deity. At the touch of his fingers, harvests will flourish. When the sky clouds over, he'll ask for tea. The boy who'll take me to a film by Rai, Satyajit Rai, the Bengali filmmaker, to demonstrations, Chinese restaurants, impromptu gossip sessions. He'll shake down the branches on the bush to pluck me a scarlet hibiscus. And if I don't take it, he'll be glum-faced with abashment. If any day tensions should arise between us in our travels or in bed, he'll regard me as an adversary. When the last evening's hangover subsides at dawn, he'll bring me the sky in a deluge. And that was Shamim Azad, who now lives in London and writes and translates from there. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Carolyne.
everybody.
Carolyne Wright, always grand to hear your voice, and congratulations on that well-deserved acknowledgement of your contribution to the voices of poets, Bengali poets, and particularly Bengali women poets, and thank you for sharing that with us. As you know, folks, when we do the wild card open mic, I do try to keep my comments to a minimum, but I do have to say, I love a good triolet, and the only thing better than a triolet is a double triolet. So thank you. Thanks for kicking us off so well for today's wild card open mic. If you have interest in reading, we are to the waiting list now, I believe. So please do put your name in the chat. Kim Ports Parsons will grab that. We'll try to get to as many folks as possible. And in the spirit of me not taking up the airwave here to make that possible, let's move to our next poet. I'm so glad to have James Chaney, poetic guy inside my eyes. That's James's stage name, sharing poems with us for the first time tonight, this afternoon. And James will be followed by Alexandra Psaropoulou. Welcome, James.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So glad. Welcome to Cultivating Voices live.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. I will be reciting a piece that I just wrote today. It's called Slithering Snake for the Light. Slithering snake for the light I'll be, learning from the past humanitarians before me. All throughout history, making a difference with everything they touched, every soul they saved from society's pain, becoming leaders, not followers, standing up for others society holds down, spreading the wealth our Father in heaven has so graciously blessed these angels with, financial abundance to extend an upper hand, not a handout or a hand down. To every sister and brother in sight, remembering we are all God's children created equally in his eyes, so why not mine and yours as well? Making us making us all connected in some way, shape, or form. Growing up, I taught myself all about the greatest humanitarians in history, learning from the mistakes they made so I don't repeat history. One thing for sure, no doubt in my mind, humanitarians playing nice by the book sometimes don't shift reality the way it needs to be due to global deceivers, never leaders, playing by a set of rules they made just for themselves, giving them the power they need to hold over global society, to keep us down in poverty. Poverty doesn't even have to exist, nor does it have to have its deadly grasping grip around any soul's neck. Knowing myself, it's more than enough wealth to spread all around every last corner of the globe to every last soul in this realm. Making a promise to myself to play a fair game with a rule book of my own called the Slithering Snake of the Light. Working to better the world every day, God wakes me up, head held high, I will do every time. Helping every soul in sight is what I will do until my mortal body collapses, going home to our Father in heaven. Slithering around, calling each and every global deceiver, remember they're not leaders, out on all of their lies they spread so easily inside of us, inflicting poverty, pain, misery, taking everything these souls work so hard for their entire lives. Knowledge and facts is what I have stored in my brain. I'll pass it on to you, global society, to do what you feel, take the message how you feel it needs to be taken. I'm sorry, I lost my spot. Every last resource we that is owned in this world that we need for our families to survive is operated and owned by just a handful of men and women thieving souls, knowing to themselves they've raised their prices higher and higher every day to make it harder for us to survive and keep our heads above that water. Excruciating hunger pains, causing clenching, cringing guts that make that soul scream from the outside in. Children and adults that can't afford to eat even after sacrificing 40 hours a week. That's full time, I'll remind you, but nobody ever works full time these days after COVID. Just like me, it's 80 to 100 hours working for the same crooks and thieves, earning everything in this world we need to survive indeed. Constantly raising the prices higher and higher every single day that passes, all in the name of COVID-19. We know it's real, but that is a lie. We will no longer hide behind your lies. Prescription drugs, my brothers and sisters need to survive, so far out of reach due to inflation constantly. Call it what you may, population control is the fitting name. Letting the lower middle class citizens of the world die off so early and easily, all due to 70 to 90% markups they make every day so easily. Global deceivers in politics, letting them do as they please because they are getting paid off to let it slide by with a bribe, not a donation. Stop the lies. Slithering all around, I'll do, bringing you all down to our size. Keeping us down, I now see, meant to be to hold complete unbroken control over society. Snake in me will steal that power back. I guarantee you this, my brothers and sisters of the light. Restoring to the people, you all, once and for all, the power that was stolen from us, our rights, our love for ourselves. My honor it will be letting these souls in this realm see they are never alone, nor were any of us ever meant to do this alone. Twisting and shaping the world we live in, I will do full of pride in me, showing every soul we are equally created, side by side, eye to eye, claiming our rights that were stolen from us once and for all. A better world I dream at night for not just my children, but yours too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's James Chaney, poetic guy inside my eye. And I forgot to draw a card for you. Oh my gosh. The Ace of Hearts. The Ace of Hearts. You got the Ace of Hearts, my friend.
I always tell my children, live by your heart and lead by your heart, not from the hate, from the consciousness that lives in the brain.
You got the right card. Wow, I love it. It's completely random, right? Like I'm shuffling. It's all good. Folks, you are listening to Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. This is our wild card open mic. And we move next to always the moving Alexandra Psaropoulou, and Alexandra will be followed by Patrick Lodge. I've got the 10 of hearts for you.
Is that okay? Does my poem have to match that, or
Not at all.
okay? Can you see the graphic designs going by? Okay. Flying 10 from the Flying series. My flying is my prayer. My flying is my soul's psalm. Mellifluous prayer, mellifluous flying. Striving to synthesize beautiful symphonies, sometimes in a discordant labyrinth, sometimes in a blissful cadence, sometimes in clashing thunder without solidarity or resonating melody, sometimes in harmonic raindrops like divine notes quenching our hearts' thirst. connecting, rising into a new cycle of incarnation. My flying is my ode. My flying is my soul's lyrics. Pioneering ode, pioneering flying. Pollinating my thoughts with the nectar of imagination. Sometimes in dignified humility. Sometimes in illuminating speech. Sometimes in the remaining few upholding their ideas, albeit unprotected and betrayed. Sometimes in a united consciousness bursting into a grid of light. Inspiring, rising into a thrilling creation. My flying is my dance. My flying is my soul swirling. Orbiting dance, orbiting flying. Coalescing, protecting from dark entities. Sometimes in merciless defeat. Sometimes in rays of jubilation. Sometimes in the crashing sea waves battering and victimizing with mortal selfishness. Sometimes in the lapping sea waves smoothing over the roughness, releasing our sweetness. Initiating, rising into a rewarding metamorphosis. My flying is my apocalypse. My flying is my soul's ambrosia. Deifying apocalypse, deifying flying. Freeing, joining my spirit with skies of art. Sometimes in expressionless disillusion. Sometimes in mystic truth. Sometimes in a dark cave, the gravity of darkness weighing us down. Sometimes in the golden dawn, a phoenix soaring, never touching ground. Outshining, rising into rejuvenating catharsis. Our flying is our utopia. Our flying is our heaven on earth. Crystalline utopia, crystalline flying. Thank you.
That's Alexandra Psaropoulou from the Flying series. Oh, I love that litany of sometimes, sometimes, sometimes. And that description of the grid of light is always what it's always how I see and experience. The fabulous graphics that you bring to the visual that you bring to the poems. Thank you so much. I was really moved to hear the poem tonight or this morning for you. Thank you so much. Well, next we get to hear from our good friend, Patrick Lodge. Great to see you today, this evening. And that'll be followed by Harvey Soss. And let me pull a card for you, Patrick, a little shuffle of the Houdini deck here. Top card, 8 of diamonds.
Ooh, I can go with
That's
that.
my new gimmick.
Okay. Is it 1 or 2
It's up to
poems,
5
Sandy?
minutes,
Remind
so
me.
whatever you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was lovely to hear Alexandra, and I'll read this poem. It's not post-COVID in England. I doubt it if it is anywhere else, but at least we've been able to travel a little bit more. So a few months ago, I was able to go to Greece again, and I'm writing a sequence of poems based on that. And this is one of them, Stimu Samu. This is called Athena Lindia, Dream Number 1. I wrote this on Lindos in Rhodes, where there's a huge, beautiful temple to Athena. Maybe this is the dream, the feather on the pillow one, in which you come to me, in truth, bright-eyed, not stone-faced, but still wrapped tight, a swish of tassels like serpents writhing as you flow from your sanctuary, seamless as water might along the track that snakes down to the city. You pass unnoticed by the sellers of honey cakes, by the women laying out cloth or crafts, the tourists and other unwitting devotees, of which I am one. Watching your descent, it's hard not to be. A trick of the light, or the streets are awash with gold spume, this newborn sunrise. I'd think you were surf-born Aphrodite, coming to claim your own, but I know better. I will take the gifts you offer. No heroic entanglements, Parthenomu. Mine is a poor exchange, a bloodless offering. Though you are familiar with such in this place, you too deserve more. And the second poem in my 5 minutes is a more recent travel poem. A fortnight ago, I was in the Outer Hebrides, which is a pretty wild place to be, and the most northwesterly point of Europe. It was marvelous. But you have to imagine me arriving now. I'm on the aeroplane, actually, making a descent to Stornoway Airport. So this is from my Outer Hebrides sequence. It's called Breathing In. It's the first poem in the sequence. On reflection, it may be impossible to imagine this. The cloud base breached over the Minch, first sight of the long isles, a 3 billion-year-old buckler holding fast, the bulwark facing off Atlantic storm. The bottom falls out of the world. We drop, a napped arrowhead plummeting stone to stone. There is a quickening in this descent. What will unfold is unknown. Here margins blur, nothing is as it seems. A literal zone, washed and reordered daily. We fall from a sky lucent with an artist's light where all is clear, to an elemental world, literally edgy. Outer Hebrides, spread out on the rim, gleaming as a school of turbulent herrings in silvered water, gift wrapped in palette colors. These islands defy easy answers, may propose a game, a dialectic with a slippery shapeshifter, or even a kelpie to throw down a challenge of a couplet or two, finish in quick time or sink without trace, if the muse has better things to do. Grounded now, enfolded within the circle, we are insiders, within these floating fractal shapes, where some truth may be fired up in colloquy with air, water, earth. Though the closer we gaze, the more is obscure, immeasurable. We come in on the wind. Thank you, Sandy.
That is the always lyrical Patrick Lodge. Oh, we come in on the wind. I love that last line. Fabulous. Oh my gosh, wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us tonight and to bring us a little bit of the re-entry into the ability to for us to travel a little more than we've been able to these past few years. But poetry always allows us to travel, doesn't it? And that, I think that's what that's been one of the great lessons for me during the pandemic, was that as homebound as I was, I could travel to so many places with all of the poets and all of the voices here on Cultivating Voices live poetry. A reminder, folks, please do put in the chat your appreciation for the poets as they're reading. We're respectful, of course. And if you've got announcements about upcoming events or things you'd like to share with the group, feel free, of course, to put that in the chat. A welcome to those of you also watching us live on Facebook, on our Facebook page, and also to those of you who will be watching the recording later on. Well, we move next to Harvey Soss, and Harvey will be followed by Mary Louise Kiernan. Welcome, Harvey. Good to see you today.
Thank you. Good to see you as always. I have 2 poems for you today that I wrote this week, and an invitation which I've posted in the chat to Artful Dodger's next open mic on October 22nd. First of the poems is Whitman at Mariupol. I thought I'd spotted him on the evening news anchors sucking from their thumbs blood from paper cuts received during pre-broadcast handling of mounting casualty reports. The number of dead rising as the sun goes down. With his hands-on training in field hospitals and love of travel, I don't know why anyone, myself included, should be surprised to find Walt Whitman in Ukraine, doing the sorts of jobs that doctors haven't time to do, sweeping severed limbs into neat piles, arms here, legs there, for later identification and burial. His notebook bloodied, each new bombardment's shockwaves stunning him into writer's block. He would have fit right in among this war's amputees, a sawbones valediction on his lips, as he did during the Civil War, with a troubling sense of déjà vu. A face very much like Walt's, recalled from the book jacket of Leaves of Grass, emerged out of half shadow onto the stage of the bombed out theater, pausing as for a monologue, chronicler of disaster or his avatar, reduced to miming a response to the Kremlin's golden domes, swiveling southward towards Mariupol like turret guns. A madman's finger rests on the nuclear button, reconfigured map on his lap, making promises his military cannot keep, determined to stuff the smaller Matryoshka doll that is Ukraine back into the greater Russia of Peter the Great, a nesting offering proof that no one, not even Peter, was great as he claims to be. The Whitman I've read and admired, the wise man of the book jacket, would have declined to blurb a positive review of this self-important fellow, author of all those missing arms and legs, refusing to sing his praise even at gunpoint, should peach-fuzzed Russian conscripts, brotherly as Cain was, demand that of him. Man is an invasive species, inventive and full of trickery. More likely than not, it was a counterfeit Walt I had spotted, Ukrainian survivor who had moments before thrown off his babushka disguise, a resistance fighter with no poet's reputation to maintain, short on food and bullets, subsisting day to day, deserving of Whitman's praise and mine. And the second poem, I don't know where the hell I get this from. As long as they keep coming, I won't ask. Is called Forecast with a Chance of Enlightenment. The weatherman declares that, hallelujah, today is the day to send a message in Morse code to the God of your choice by signing up to hear a heavenly voice from either column A or column B. For example, the one true God for you, an Aztec God for me. The response to your inquiry will come back if there's not too much of a cue in the patter of rain on the roof. Morse and after him Marconi would have been thrilled as you must be to be able to communicate wirelessly with the great beyond. Excitement and expectation building among a chosen few. Daisy's being of the opinion that she loves you, you can skip the romantic, confine your questions to the metaphysical. Who am I to be worthy of love, of salvation? And if your guard is stumped, find yourself another one. I have it on good information that my guy, Quetzalcoatl, will be lecturing soon on death and resurrection. I suggest then that you forget prowling cul-de-sacs at Barnes and Noble. Yours is a higher calling than their 2 floors with their how-tos and back issues of popular mechanics. Nothing you'd waste time chatting up a god about when in matters of practical magic, daily devotion to watching this old house can give you all the answers you need. So you grab for the brass ring, request the meaning of life. unwilling to settle for the Reader's Digest abridged version, listening until the storm's exegesis is interrupted with the oldest and hungriest among the gods demanding a dim sum of human sacrifice, life coaches offering, upon the usual terms and conditions, a trade of knowledge for innocence. Thank you.
Wow, Harvey Soss, everybody, the Artful Dodger, and what poems today, really. 10 of Spades, I just picked up off the top of the deck for our wild card open mic. Thank you so much. Yeah, make sure you read all the comments in the chat. Folks saying you are at your very, very best today, absolute best today. I couldn't agree more. Fabulous work. Thank you so much. We move on next to Mary Louise Kiernan. Let me shuffle the wild card deck and see what 2 of Spades there for, and Mary Louise will be followed by Glenda Cimino.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the hosts and for listening to me today. I have 3 haiku. The theme is autumn. And I reference a lacy leaf in the second haiku. So I don't know if you can see it or not, but that's a lacy leaf. And I'm going to read them a second time. They're only 21 syllables. And I feel to read them a second time would be a refrain or an echo and give a little pause to each one. Stark is summer's end. In one light switch moment, leaves rustle, then rattle. Stark is summer's end. In one light switch moment, leaves rustle, then rattle. Fading trees whisper, every lacy leaf I sweep, the closer we fall. Fading trees whisper, every lacy leaf I sweep, the closer we fall. To grow wizened rings within their cores, dying leaves from each tree must fall. To grow wizened rings within their cores, dying leaves from each tree must fall. Thank you.
Beautiful. That's Mary Louise Kiernan. What I so appreciate about Cultivating Voices live poetry is that we get a smorgasbord, particularly in the wild card open mic, of course, and that, you know, we can hear a double triolet the same day that we'll hear haiku. And I love that practice of the repetition of the haiku personally. And I actually wish there was room that we could almost hear every poem twice, because there's just different inflection and motion that comes with the second reading as it's layered and textured additionally. So I do really love that practice with the haiku. Thank you so much, Mary Louise. And now we'll get to hear from Glenda Cimino. Glenda, so glad to see you today.
I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
I thought I was locked
Hearts.
out. 9 of Hearts. Okay.
9 of Hearts for you, my friend.
Thank
And
you.
then we'll hear from Jeff Kaliss after Glenda.
Okay, I'm going to read one rather long poem. It's called Equinox, or The Darkening of the Light. It was inspired by the I Ching. I lost it years ago. It turned up a couple of days ago, the only existing copy of this poem. And when I read through it again, I thought it has some timely messages to us living in this time of wars and refugees and people leaving Russia trying not to be conscripted to go die in a war which is immoral. So anyway, and I've tried to write it in the style of the I Ching. So it begins with a quote from the I Ching. The judgment, darkening of the light. In adversity, it furthers one to be persevering. Number 1, the Lord of darkness struggles with the Lord of light. Day and night are equally divided. 12 full moons, 12 new moons alternate their cycles, whether or not observed by human right. 2. This is the time of ancient battles, equinoctial storms, quarreling in the house. Things are balanced, but not for long. Days and nights lengthen and shorten, shorten and lengthen. Light wins, then dark, then light again. Yin, yang, the cycle renews itself. The curve of the white peaks at the longest day, summer solstice. Nestled in the curve of the black, longest night, winter solstice. We watch especially. We feel tonight the ominous overtones, the fading of the light. 3. The image. The light has sunk into the earth, the image of darkening of the light. Thus does the superior man live with a great mass. He veils his light, yet still shines. We live inevitably through the designated time. We see the wounding of the bright. The Lord of light is wounded by the Lord of darkness. From now on, each day grows shorter, each night longer, till we are nearly immersed in darkness. We wake to darkness. We come home to darkness. And these are dark times with dark to come. 4. A man of dark nature is in authority over us and brings harm to the wise and able man. Some of the princes of the realm go into hiding. Some are held prisoner. Some fight back. Some fly abroad. Some, like ourselves, can only save their lives by dissembling. 5. We cannot leave our post. 6 in the 5th place means darting of the light is with Prince Chi, perseverance furthers. Like the Chinese Prince Chi at the court of the evil tyrant, we cannot leave our post. Relatives of the tyrant, we cannot withdraw from court. 6. Somehow we must live through this time. Should we conceal our true sentiments, feign insanity, pretend to agree? These are difficult times. We must maintain our inner light while outside appearing yielding, tractable. 7. These are dark times, but external misery must not deflect us from our convictions. With the right attitude, one perseveres within, maintains one's will in the face of difficulties. 8. One veils one light, but still shines. We are only temporarily eclipsed. 9. In social intercourse, one should not try to be all-knowing. Let many things pass without being duped. Even to abolish abuses too hastily may turn out badly, as the abuses have existed for so long. 10. These are turbulent times, sickness, storms, quarrels, uncertainty. He who does not compromise, but remains true to himself, suffers deprivation. Even though those you live with speak ill of you, you have a goal to strive for. 11. Some hiding, some prisoners, some fighting, some abroad, and we save our lives by dissembling in the court of the Lord of Darkness. If we found ourselves, cousins, close to the Lord of Darkness and discovered his secret thoughts, we might realize there is no hope of improvement and try to leave before the storm breaks, but we cannot. To escape danger, we need invincible perseverance of spirit, but redoubled cautions in our dealings with the world. 12. 6 at the top means not light, but darkness. First he climbed up to heaven, then he plunged into the depths of the earth. The light is only veiled, not extinguished. The light cannot be permanently held below, but presses forward when the time has come. The darkening reaches a climax. He who held so high a place, he could wound all on the side of good and light, now must fall. The Lord of Darkness climbed up to the heaven. He who held a position through which he might have enlightened all the people of the realm, made it his business to injure men, and thus prepared his own downfall. The sun which has died is reborn. The lords of darkness are unmasked. They must perish of their own darkness at the very moment when they have wholly overcome the good and thus consumed the energy to which they owe duration. Then for a while, the lords of light will rise again and reign. The beautiful and clear within, the gentle and devoted without, are not thus exposed to more adversity. From winter solstice to the spring equinox, the Manichaean conflict of light and dark continue. The light continues to rise until summer solstice, and the cycle of the dark lords, though we know they will be overpowered, begins again. So, cousins, some hiding, some in prison, some fighting, some abroad, and we save our lives by dissembling in the court of the Dark Lord.
What an epic poem. I'm glad that you rediscovered it.
Me
And
too.
were able to bring it to us today. Folks, it's our wild card open mic. And we are, I really have come to just be a great fan of this format. I love all the readings, but I love the random. I love the synchronicities. I love the possibilities that come with the wild card open mic. And on that note, let us continue along, and let me not clog up the reading too much with my own pontifications. Let's move on to Jeff Kaliss. Let's see what card after my shuffles. Ooh, we've got 2 aces today. Ace of clubs for you, my friend Jeff. And Jeff will be followed by Billy Brown. Good to see you, Jeff. Thanks for being with us.
So happy to be here in your and Kim's club. And I'm going to tag team a bit on Glenda with an autumnal thing. This is part of a Thanksgiving week poetic journal, and kind of tag teaming at the beginning with Patrick because it starts out on an airplane. I'll see how far I get. Tuesday, to travel from my trusted bed towards one made up and waiting across the continent, I had to be pulled from across my own bed by my better half, the half of the genetic other, the foundation of those 2 sets of hugs also waiting for us over there. Pulled out of my dream, where I was writing opera, an opera that would have sung of my own mother and father back in a drier Thanksgiving. And here, along the pre-boarded pilgrimage, was the slow plowing through fields of folk from dawning sea to the night shining of another sea. Feelings flowing through their flyings all, cabined hearts assigned to this and that and her and him. Along some things planned towards my senescence, I'm boosted to be benign, floating on billows of clouds, as generous as my bit of moving flesh, as ample as my shoulder for my darling's dozing, catching up with a high and borderless dusk before coming down from flights I have remaining towards friendly house numbers and kitchen lights of Beltway evenings. Wednesday. She has her own front door to open now, into a humble, loving lodging of scholars, sharing the costs of living and the stress of discovery. And now a younger brother to fawn on and fuss over, she senior to his freshman. The both now joined in holiday by the pair who first loved and fed them and taught them how to speak and sing. This door me to walking in recall towards my own college cooking, the servings on unmatched plates divided by unmatched cutlery, and all that merry mischief, sometimes overheated but generously shared. Here too are periodic holiday colors waiting outside on the sidewalks, the gold and russets of trees in doting celebration. These are the glories that chill and age bring out in us. This is what you'll shuffle through, my darlings, on your ways towards what awaits you. Thanksgiving. We always have mom to give thanks for and to. When I get to be dad, to carve the turkey, that's just me being me, sharing me, consuming me. After the big meal, while the body's doing something with it all, what does dad do with his mind? Funny that I've always thought I always had to sit there, or my mind did, watching and waiting while the body did its juicy things with cranberry sauce and pecan pie. Seems a little voyeuristic, a bit pornographic. What do minds do when they're not supervising the separation of the dark meat? How far can they stray beyond the latest invitation? The brighter light, my daughter pointed out, seduces the eyes on a wandering through shadowy woods. I looked aside towards rivulets of rippling leaves and downward at my autumnal footsteps, making their measured way through crisp gold remainders. On any way, you'll notice who's with you, and I hope you'll care about the company, or at least be willing to think beside them. At the table, in an enhanced good humor, I said I was thankful for having evolved to the point where I could be thankful for the results of my reproductive process, and further thankful that I could share with them consumption of a lesser species. Who is reading this? Who is hearing this? How many can I invite to sit around my consciousness without minding who the head of the table is? Thank you all for listening.
Wow, Jeff, that's just, oh, it's a fabulous conclusion to that poem. Oh my gosh. It's reminding me also that we're coming up for our Poets Focus for November. Our first reading of November will be on the theme of hunger. The word is hunger. Bring those poems to our open mic on our Poets Focus coming up for our first reading in November. Well, next, we get to hear the poems of Billy Brown. Let me pick a card for you, Billy. And Billy will be followed by Judy Ireland. We're moving along beautifully, folks. 8 of clubs for you, Billy.
I've picked an ace of hearts for you.
Oh!
This is the cover design of our first issue of the Fiction Free Poetry Quarterly. That's for you, Karen.
I love that. Beautiful.
I have 2 poems. One just wrote this morning based on experience yesterday. There's a quote here from Landmark Education. Humans are meaning-making machines. On our morning walk yesterday, we encountered on the sidewalk at a street corner, all together in a little group, a rotting banana, a pair of Nike sneakers, each containing an athletic sock, and a black lightweight pair of athletic shorts. And I immediately thought, what an interesting assemblage for a still life. How could this have happened? My first story was this. Someone stole a car, and on the seat were a banana, a pair of Nike sneakers, and a pair of shorts, which the thieves carefully placed on the sidewalk, not having any use of such things. My next story was this. A couple parked near this corner during the night decided to make love in the back seat, and the man quickly divested himself of unnecessary clothing. The banana, who knows? I'll leave that part to your imagination. The final story, a young man was doing some yard work Sunday morning. His partner stopped to pick him up, take him to church, bringing his church clothes. He just dumped his Nike sneakers and gym shorts on the sidewalk before he changed to a fresh shirt, jumped in the car, changed into his dress shoes in the car on the way to church, planned to grab his sneakers and gym shorts later. What is your story? This is this last one was an illustration of my belief that almost any image, almost any saying of a few words can be the start of an interesting poem. My next and final poem, this is a little booklet called Pandemic Poems, and it's written by a group of women of a certain age, I'll say, who have been in a poetry group together for about 25 years. And of course, during the last few years, they were severely impeded by the pandemic. And so they have each written several pandemic poems, and they had a reading yesterday, and I went to it and received a copy of this book. The one by Sarah Voorhees. Sarah Voorhees is the wife of my one-time primary care physician, Dayton Voorhees, so I have a special affection for both of them. But I understand that she is suffering from some dementia problems, and so I was told that she probably would not read, but she did read, and I was just so thrilled at hearing her voice and hearing this poem. It's entitled Being Human. When I return home after I have finished here, and they ask me what I learned when I was human, I'll tell them of the long trails of vapor crisscrossing the bluest sky. I'll describe to them the soft bump of a cat's nose against my ankle, and how a tiny act of kindness could glisten like Polaris. I'll tell them how the children burst into a human heart and leave it open, vulnerable to sun and rain and every kind of weather. I'll speak of sisters, brothers, friends, and teachers, how the dizzy pleasure of falling in love is replaced one day by the steady confidence of loving. They may never understand till I recall the way I felt. I learned until the day I learned to whistle, and how we used to laugh until the tears ran down our cheeks. They'll all be spellbound when I tell them of opinions, turquoise, feathers, despair, and how it was to roll a snowball, touch a man's skin, or taste a raspberry. And then the crowning jewel, the exclamation point in any ode to earth. I'll tell how at the end of each long winter, just when you'd forgotten air could give you strength, you'd find yourself awakened in your soft, clean bed to hear the quail purr of spring, and with your first astonished breath, inhale the scent of Russian olive flowers. When I finish my report, there'll be a line for human, stretching halfway around the galaxy. Thank you very much. That was by Sarah Voorhees.
Thank you so much, Billy Brown. I'm going to move us along quickly because we do have quite a few folks on the wait list, and we'll try to get to as many as possible. Thank you so much. Next up is Judy Ireland. 6 of spades.
6 of spades. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Great. Okay. I'm just going to read one quick poem, and I didn't plan to read when I came today. I just came to listen, but I'm happy to be able to share this with you. All of you who've tried to get published in journals know it can be very difficult, but it's almost impossible to get published in magazines like Poetry. And so this poem is addressed to an editor at a journal such as Poetry. And it's called, You Want This Poem, You Know You Do. It doesn't require you to insert a page that unfolds in the midst of your journal. I know you love that. No poet photo with beard, flannel shirt, avocado toast. No poems that make the reader write the poem themselves. My poem is a child gone quiet, requiring investigation. It straddles rooftops with impossibly long legs, but you have to look up to see it. It doesn't drop its pants and kiss the rod or rely on a cult of grad students to retweet it with one word. This poem sleeps late, then lies about in a silk shift. This poem greets the day with a box of tools and a ladder. This poem fits into your shoe and won't bunch up under your heel. You know you want this poem, admit it. Thank you.
Poem near and dear to my heart, I have to say, yes. You know, I'm reminded with Billy and Judy that, you know, poetry can really come from absolutely anywhere. And I'm almost tempted to say, hey, let's go out and take the banana, the shorts, and the Nike sneakers, and all go out and write our, you know, you take a prompt from the last line. What's your story? And each of us write a poem with those three objects. And it's making me kind of think about some possible future writing prompts for maybe on our site that we write together. Well, next we have Lynda V.E. Crawford, and we will close out our featured, our Poets Dozen today on the Wild Card Open Mic with Risa Denenberg. So Lynda, let me see which card we have for you. 5 of Hearts. I'm picking a lot of hearts today.
A lot of hearts. That's
I love
wonderful.
hearts.
Yeah, and someone had put in the chat that poems talk to each other. It's so uncanny. I'm going to read 2. And the first one, Judy, and I have a sister named Judy. It's just right after yours. It's so interesting. Anyhow, a simple poem. Do not linger long in epic poems that stretch through pages curled by drag and tug of brain. Resist the nick of blood in throat, heart in teeth and gutted nodes curdled inside beauty threads. Write a simple poem, a chronicle of life on untarred paths. Discard the rest in stuff bins along the way. That's the end of that first one. And now for a less, thank you, less simple poem. The title may sound sad, but the poem is not a sad one. And I wrote it several years after the funeral of my mother. Okay. Cradling the grave. But as I was saying, some of us heard her laugh. Others imagined that mischievous smile. We were doing the same in a pause from sighing, between hymns we hadn't sung since we last left, some not sung since island primary, secondary. Ancestor amounts pink satin, rosary in hand. We placed it there when we opened the casket, saw her hands had risen, waiting. Long rubbed crystals with silver cross. We had gently twined it between her fingers. But as I was saying, some of us ourselves laughed. Others mirrored her mischievous smile. In a pause from funeral, a dirge, wanting to squirt blood from heart. In a pause from frangipani tears, eyes rubbed raw. Which spirit will plant enough ginger lilies, hyacinth, create a hug in the opened space between her children? But as I was saying, in a pause, we heard her giggle, Kadir, at our cousin's first song, a sound scraping ears, and the second serrated, cousin, don't make us belly laugh, not in this cemetery where we bend to cradle the grave. Don't disturb the rest of the mischievous. The end, thank you. Also great for October.
Always Oh, you always bring it. You always bring it, Lynda. Oh, man. Thank you so much.
Thank
Fabulous.
you. Thank you.
So grateful for your voice here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. And now to our final of our poets dozen today. It is always an honor and a pleasure to hear a poem by Risa Denenberg. Thanks for joining us today, Risa.
Sure, everything's been great. Thank you all for reading your wonderful work. I'm going to read two short poems. The first one is Enough Beauty in This World. Someone on Twitter asked us to recall the most beautiful place we'd ever seen. I said, Earth, because I've never been to another planet. I'm exhausted and dirty and abandoned, and I still said Earth. Floating at the helm of my lonely seabed, I survey the damage, the centuries of neglect, and whisper, Earth. Married to sheepskin, to the elk herd, to Sundays with only the radio for company, I vowed to love my only mother. I've been handed moments, small and large. I've wandered many places, and each one stunning. Miami, Kabul, Dubrovnik, Seattle. I've traveled by plane, by ferry, on the jet stream. I've trekked barefoot in ballet flats. I've walked for days in the desert with only a blanket for water. All of this, just to remind me I live here, and I still say Earth. And the second poem, I'm going to explain a couple of words because you can't look at them and you may not be familiar. And the first one is Cohen, which is a Buddhist puzzle. And the last one is diastole. The beats of the heart are systole and diastole. Still life with moving parts. I collect koans. The human body made of seawater, the sea made of salt water, how salt can deaden a lake or rim a glass, how turning back turned a woman into salt, the shoreline where tides shift the sand, how glass is made of the tide waters that wave in syncopated rhythms, the silence between breakers, the heart that all its life only rests between beats, the moments in between when there is doubt, how I fall and rise to fall and rise again, the diastole of my heart and of the sea. Thank you.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I can't believe it, but look at the card that I pulled for you.
Okay.
Unbelievable. Queen of Hearts. Wow. I mean, it's random. It's just random. That's amazing. Whoa. Oh my gosh. So moved by those poems, Risa. Oh, sometimes the poems just they just take me away, and that's what yours did for me today. Wow. Oh, all right, folks. I'm gathering my presence to be able to move us to the open mic, and on the open mic, we've got a half dozen folks. So it's one poem apiece. I'll take us to 1:30 my time on the Pacific, so to the half hour, and we'll get through as many as we can. So I will be very quiet now and move us along to Catherine Ronan, followed by Gordon Ferris.
Hi everyone, fantastic poetry from everybody today. So glad to be here. This poem was published in Friendship Volume 2. I lost two very close friends last year to cancer, and this one is called Chemo, and it's for my friends Moira and Michelle. Their anniversary, well, Michelle's anniversary is coming up next week. Chemo. Life is tuning my throat, blurred and bitten in the hoary husk of a thirsty oak. eyelids fail the night, disappoint the dawn. Blistered feet carry decay and odor. Sickness burns naked in cotton clothing. Teeth loosen on ancient rags. Memories stick like green fruit to the hand-painted bowl. Dust rising from the juice past joy and entitlement. One song in our last embrace. We friendship in language never understood until now.
Wow. Thank you so much. I pulled the third ace for you. The third
I'll
ace.
take it. I'll take it.
Okay. Ace of spades for you. Wow. Well, next, Gordon Ferris, followed by D. Allen.
It's called When My Genie Appears. When my genie appears, I won't waste my wishes on little things, only on things that change all our worlds. When you see the world only in black and white, you will never see the light in loved one's eyes or the purple on a leaf. No, I don't focus on the flowers that fill the air with fragrance or the drawings on the wall of a far-off distant place. I don't focus on the sound of a radio host saying that the church is bad, or sex out of wedlock is bad, or how it's okay to come out or to say that you are very sad, and how you are filled with dread and afraid to say it because they label you as mad. I will not use them on the things I can already change, only on the things that will bring joy and hope. Thank you.
Gosh, poems today, folks. Everyone is just really spectacular. Thank you, Gordon Ferris. Moving us along next. Always pleasure to have Dee Allen with us. And Dee will be followed by Isaac Cohen. We are literally all over the globe today. It's amazing, amazing. Dee, you got the King of Diamonds, my friend. King of Diamonds. And let me just check.
I don't see him.
Yep, I don't see him either. I just realized. Okay, thank you. Isaac Cohen, I guess you're the King of Diamonds. But I'm going to pull a bonus card for you. King of Clubs, double kings. Wow. Pair of kings. Oh, Isaac. There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sandy, and thank you, Kim, and thank you, Don. Have a holiday. Holiday. As a coin. Mother's dumpling. Mother's dumpling is the wire connecting my soul to paradise. And the second,
Wow. Beautiful. My gosh.
yes. To my darling, you're not Cohen pets. As a coin, what is love? The eyes, the heart, a shoulder that you touch, a smooth face that causes vibration when you kiss. I know this is love. And the third is a new poem. As a Cohen. The child and the flower. The flower whispered to the child, "Let smell me, but don't pick me." The child answered, "I agree." The child became a friend of the flower. The flower heard about first love. The child nurtured the flower and cared for him. When the child was sick, he smelled the flower and was healed. As years went by, he built a bank near the flower, and they were continued speaking like a couple of lovers. Thank you, Isaac Cohen, Israel.
Thank you so much, Isaac Cohen. Appreciate always having your voice here with us here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry, and your later evening joining us from your corner of the earth. Thank you. Oh, I'm so glad to see Marcella, Prescher, Remund with us today. It's been far too long since I've heard one of your poems, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
It's been a while. Thank you, Sandy and Don and Kim. It's delightful to be here. I lost both of my parents this year, and this is a poem I wrote for my mother. It's called The Open Sea. Head back, mouth open is my lighthouse beacon. Sail on, the seas are safe. Mother's open mouth means she's asleep, and I can exhale at last, drop anchor. Half in my bunk, I risk closing my eyes, diving into brief rest, but a vast. She has not made peace with her first mate, death. Any sound could wake her, could mean death is trying again to pry her hands loose from the guardrail she grips even in sleep, the rail that keeps her safe aboard this hospital bed, her funeral ship. Each time she wakes, I wake, weigh anchor, set sail again. Over and over, I steer toward the sunset as if the horizon was not the edge of the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcella. And I know grief process, and poetry is certainly does its work to help us move through it. I won't say it's the salve of all of it, but it definitely helps me. So I'm grateful for the poem today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we will moving along right to the open mic. We have Batt O'Connor.
Hello, how are you all doing?
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Great to see you, Sandy. Great to see you all. And to hear a couple of Irish accents as well, I was amazed. I thought I'd be the only one here that would understand myself, you know. I'm going to read a piece. I don't want to waste your time talking about. This is a piece called Edna, and it's about Edna O'Brien. And I know if people outside of Ireland are aware of Edna O'Brien, who wrote The Country Girls, which was a seminal novel in Irish literature. She's around 90 now, and She had a play running in Dublin until last Sunday about Joyce's women. And she couldn't find, she found difficulty in getting the conclusion when she listened to Wagner's opera, Tristan and Isolde. So there's a reference to that here. There's also a reference to the harp, which of course is the Irish instrument of the halls and houses. And there's the bodhrán, which is the Irish drum, which is the instrument of the bohans and cabins. This is called Edna. Who can refuse to believe in you when your words, accurate and in tune, make our harp strings tremble? The music of the harp never lays down the law. More often, it is airy. You accompany it with a bodhrán. Sometimes you introduce the mischief of the fiddle. However, you are no stranger to violins. When Tristan decides to die for Isolde, it's a time for violins. This denouement takes place in the orchestral hands of Wagner and in the midst of your insight. You are my last heroine. All the others have gone into wherever. Elizabeth Bowen, Kate O'Brien, Mary Levin, Leland Bardwell, Ivan Boland, Maura Vakati, and the Irish Emily Dickinson, whoever she was. I missed their funerals one by one, sitting at home, even as their souls went off into the blue. But Edna, I assure you, if I live for it, I will make it to London for years. Thank you.
Just gorgeous. I happened to pick the 7 of hearts for you, and for Marcella, the 6 of hearts. They were right next to each other.
That's 13, be careful.
It's actually my lucky number. Thank you so much. Batt.
Thank you,
What a beautiful,
Andy.
beautiful
Thank you.
poem. Amazing. I'm so glad you're here today. Well, I'm going to add a bonus poem for today and ask Dianne Knox to close us out for the afternoon, the evening, the early morning. What a fabulous open mic we've had today. And thank you so much, Dianne, for your patience with me today. Let me pick a card for you. Queen of Diamonds.
Thank you. This is called Life is a Fight. We struggle for a handle we cannot see. Instead, grasp the cutting edge. Our flesh is sliced. We are resilient. The gaps coagulate. We heal to deal with the next blade. The following objects are not as sharp. We are lulled, less reluctant to enter the unknown. Once we have reached complacency, the stabs seem unreasonably cruel. Our senses are alerted. We are careful, reaching into murky waters. Survival is the final cut. Cost is precious blood we pay to eliminate the crud. Not a kiss on the lips. Life is a fight for a knife in the mud. Thank you.
Wow. And what an ending to that poem. Extraordinary. You know, folks, I've heard so much poetry, of course, over the course of my life. And a powerful poem never ceases to amaze me. A great line never ceases to take my breath away. And it happens week after week. And today, I was just taken so many places. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to read out the names of all the poets that we heard from today, and then ask you to unmute. We heard at the top of the hour from Carolyne Wright, James Chaney, Poetic Guy Inside My Eyes, Alexandra Psaropoulou, Patrick Lodge, Harvey Soss, Mary Louise Kiernan, Glenda Cimino, Jeff Kaliss, Billy Brown, Judy Ireland, Lynda V.E. Crawford, Risa Denenberg, and we were able to get through the open mic on our waiting list the additional voices of Catherine Ronan, Gordon Ferris, Isaac Cohen, Marcella, Prescher Remund, Batt O'Connor, and we ended with Dianne Knox. What an astounding deck of cards we had today. All of them a great hand. All of them a great hand. Would you please unmute and show your appreciation for our fabulous poets today and their exquisite poems.
Fabulous work, everyone.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Bravo.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much.
Indeed. A little bit of a bouquet for you all. Thank you. Thank you, one and all. Thank you to all the poets for reading, and thank you to all the poets for listening. You know, the poems need our ears. The poems need our consciousness to intersect with. And it was very interesting. I always find interesting the synergy of the poetry, how even in a wild card open mic, the connections and the intersections, the echoes and the juxtapositions, always amazed at how we create a matrix of poetry, of course, through our individual humanity, and our individual humanities create our poetic community. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you again, one and all. I'm so appreciative for everyone being here today on Cultivating Voices, live poetry, where indeed your voice truly matters. Again, thanks again, Mary Louise Kiernan, for getting this button for me. I really love it. Folks, that's it for our readings for October. We'll be joining you back in the first week, Sunday of November, where we will be back with our Poets Focus on hunger. Hunger is the word, is the theme. Bring your myriad ways of exploring that word and that idea for the month of November. Of course, on second Sunday, we will have our new book showcase, and we will, of course, return third Sunday once again with our wild card open mic just the week before the just in time before the Thanksgiving holiday here in the States. Well, again, it's been an incredible honor and pleasure to be with you, shuffling the cards, shuffling the deck, and finding all the poetry between the cards. I hope that you all will draw very good hands throughout the next couple weeks. And as I always say at the end of our readings, you know, please take very good care of yourselves. Take exquisite care of your beloveds and keep writing your miraculous, magical, mystical poems. I'm Sandy Yannone for Cultivating Voices Live Poetry, with incredible appreciation to each and every one of you for being with us today. For those of you watching here and who will be the hundreds of you that will watch the recording, we miss you live. We welcome you when you can join us live, but I'm glad you're out there watching these recordings. And of course, thanks to Don Krieger and Kim Ports Parsons, for whom we could never, ever be here together on most Sundays without the two of them. Peace out, my friends, and be very well. Be very well. We'll see you next time.